today I am with Katherine Wuestenfeld, a running coach, accomplished runner, marathoner. Um, Kathleen, I'd like to start by asking you how you got into running. Most of the people that I've talked to actually started running as adults, and you actually started way back in middle school. So, could you talk a little bit about how you got into it and how you've kept going all this time?
Sure. Well, when I started in middle school, I think it was more of like peer pressure from some of my friends that were going to be joining the track team. And so I figured, it's a good opportunity to spend time with friends. So why not join and see what it's all about? Growing up, I tried a lot of different sports, whether it be basketball, volleyball, gymnastics, soccer. And soccer was really the only one that really stuck. So figured in an off season, why not give track a try in middle school? So kind of from there, I only did sprint events because I was actually afraid of long distance events. I didn't really do anything over a 400-meter dash, which is funny looking back now because anything under like 2 miles, I'm like, no, thank you anymore. um, but yeah, so I mean, after middle school, went to high school. Like I mentioned, I was a soccer player. And so kind of from that, had to decide between like the soccer piece or running. My freshman year of high school, stuck with soccer just because I had played travel soccer and felt like I owed it to my parents to see that through at least freshman year and join the high school team. But I really missed running, and I really missed the community of running. And so I ended up transitioning more to distance running my sophomore year and later on throughout high school doing track and field cross country. And I'm so glad I did because it's been a lifelong sport for me now. I ran my first marathon in college and coming out of that have been running marathons, half marathons ever since, and absolutely love the longer distances. So yeah, it's been a lifelong journey, and I am unique in that I started young, but I feel like I still have so much road ahead, which is exciting.
Um, do you have a particular marathon or half that was your favorite?
I actually got to run the Boston Marathon in 2019. So that was a goal that I worked towards for about 6 years to qualify for that. And so just being able to be there and experience that race and know how much work had went into that, it was an amazing experience. Anyone who's run Boston will tell you that, like, the crowds are magical. The whole day is just so special. And I actually ran an 8-minute PR there too, so that didn't hurt things, making it for a fun day either. So yeah, that'd definitely be my favorite race. And I was hoping to go back last year, but as we know, that didn't quite happen. So hopefully down the road, I'll be back again.
Great. Yeah, and that's a good jumping off point. How has um, the pandemic and the lockdowns, how has that changed things for you, or has it?
In terms of training, it didn't change a whole lot. So when kind of coronavirus hit here last March, I was 6 weeks out from Boston 2020. That's what I was training for at the time. And so when that happened, pivoted a little bit. Like I didn't really feel the need to finish out that cycle because I didn't have a whole lot of interest at the time of running a marathon by myself. So kind of just dialed my mileage back a little bit and regrouped and tried to find what was going to really spark my interest, just knowing that races probably weren't going to be an option for a while. So I changed to a more like speed focused cycle, doing 5Ks, mile time trials, to something very different than all the marathon training I had been doing for the last several years. And I definitely recommend if people are in a rut or anything with the pandemic here, just trying to switch it up and do something you haven't done before, because it's fun, but it also pays off long term with, even if you're into like long distance running. Like I've seen now just over the last few months, just how much sharper my speed is, which is translated well to the marathon too, which is pretty neat.
Cool. Little bright side.
Yeah, exactly.
Tiny. Um, so are you more of a solo runner, or do you like to run with others?
Yeah, I'd say I'm definitely more of a solo runner. Running is my time to escape everything that is going on. I prefer to do my run like with some music and just kind of zone out, and that's my time to think and get away from everything. But I do also like to run with others. I run with my dad once a week at least, which is really special. That's something that kind of started more recently with the pandemic. Every weekend we run together. So I do run with him, and I like to do that. And when my running, so I'm a part of a running club in the local area, Bussy Woods Running Club, and in non-pandemic times too, I would enjoy meeting up with people. I've met up with a few people on the side over the last few months, which has been nice to have people to see, and other than the people in my house. But yeah, for the most part though, most of my running is done on my own, and this is my me time.
Right. So you're the introspective runner.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think growing up, since I was always a part of a team, I was so used to always being around people when I ran. And so when I went to college and I was no longer on a team, I kind of took more of an academic route in college versus going and like running on a scholarship. So I just had to get used to running by myself. and it really just taught me like more about like being more in control of my own body and things that you don't really pick up on as much when you're in a group. I think I really worked on things like good mental strength and good form and everything by myself. And so coming out of college, it's just what I was used to. And I enjoy mixing it up, running with others. And I think it's neat to be able to share that with other people. But I'd say when I'm in more like focused training, doing my own thing, like I prefer to be by myself.
So you're also, in addition to being a runner, you're also a coach. Talk about a little bit about how you got into coaching and what that experience is like.
Yeah, so I had always been coached since obviously middle school, high school. Then when I went off to college, I no longer had a coach and was doing everything on my own. Would find some online training plans and follow those, and it worked well for a while until at some point I reached my own plateau of where I was going to go, and so I hired my own running coach in 2018, and I didn't realize at the time that coaching adults was an option. Like it wasn't something that I thought was very common. And I've loved the last 3 years I've worked with my own coach, have had such a positive experience working with her, and just really looked up to her and what she had built through her own coaching business. And so at the end of 2018, I actually went to get my own coaching certification through the RRCA. So I took a class, had to take exams, get some certifications, and ended up connecting more with my coach, who asked me to come on board as her first coach on her team besides herself, which was really exciting that she had seen kind of my progression as an athlete myself working with her, but just also just how I approach things and in my own training and what was important to me, and things just kind of matched up well between the two of us and our philosophies. And so I was really lucky to kind of be in the right place at the right time, that she was looking to expand her team. So I came on board her team in the beginning of 2019 and took on my first few athletes in March of that year. And it's been an awesome adventure the last 2 years, getting to work with athletes of all different abilities and goals. And I've loved it. I think what made me want to get into it more was just the experience I've had with all the coaches in my life. I've had very positive coaching experiences, so I'm very lucky that I had great coaches in high school. I have a great coach now as an adult myself, and just knowing how I could impact someone else's running journey was really neat to me. And really, it's really special when someone puts their trust in you to help them reach their goals. Obviously, they're going to be the ones at the end of the day doing the work, but that they're trusting you to get them there to that starting line safely and to the finish line, reaching their goal is really cool.
It's a way to share your passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So when you do, I know we're not running any races now, but when we do get back to races, do you have a night before the race routine?
I do. And I try not to like be too rigid just because I like to stay a little flexible just 'cause I don't know what I'm going to have or if I'm at a hotel or something. But I have a few things that I kind of stick with. The first is being able to make like the turkey trot meatballs. If you've heard of those from Run Fast, Eat Slow, the cookbook, Shalane Flanagan. I love those meatballs. I make them before every race. So a lot of times if I'm going and traveling, I'll rent like an Airbnb where I have my own kitchen so I can make some food. So I'll make those meatballs with some pasta and like marinara sauce. I typically will lay my race outfit out ahead of time just so when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to think through a whole lot of, of things. It's kind of just put it on and go. Um, yeah, I normally watch some TV just to relax before like a big race. Typically, my husband's with me too when we're traveling for races, so he'll be there. He knows that I need to just calm my nerves, so he'll sit there and watch. We'll watch like Friends. A lot of times is something that's like fun, lighthearted, and yeah, then go to bed. But try to be flexible, just because I know if something were to go wrong, I wouldn't want to be so stuck in my way of what I like to do. But yeah, just a few things that make me feel comfortable before a run are important.
And when we get back to having organized races, what are you most looking forward to?
I think probably being able to give people hugs at the finish line, like giving hugs in general right now would be nice, but just crossing the line and being able to celebrate with friends and family, like everyone who came there to support you, and other people who are running the race too. It's always really special when you're in the same race as some of your friends and can celebrate with each other afterwards. So I think just the environment of the race itself is what I'm really, really missing and looking forward to, because that's something that can't be replicated really at home. I've done some of my own like time trials and they're fun, but you cross the line and that's it. It's okay. It's time to go home and take a shower. So yeah, just the whole race day experience of being able to be with others, celebrate with each other.
So if somebody approaches you, they know you're a runner, they've never tried it before, and they say they're thinking about it, what advice do you give them? What do you tell them?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd be really excited for them because that's great that they're thinking about that. First piece of advice would probably be to go get fitted for a good pair of running shoes because it can make a huge difference in your training and how comfortable you are. So I'll often recommend like they visit their local running store because they're going to give them that personalized experience. Find a good shoe for their foot and their body, what their gait's like. But then I would just encourage them to be patient. Running is hard for all of us, no matter how long we've been doing it. And it's not always enjoyable. So just like it's fun when you're in the flow and going with it, but that doesn't happen all the time. And so just being patient and knowing that it takes time to build yourself up, and that no matter how long we've been doing this, like we're going to have bad days too. So to not let the bad days kind of get in the way of all the good that you're doing, and just being really proud of what your body is allowing you to do, I think is really important. Just at the end of the day, we're so lucky to be able to move in this way. And it's such a gift. So just remembering that even on the hard days, like you're doing something that most people won't be doing. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're running circles around everybody who stayed on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone starts somewhere too. So.
Right. Yeah, and you mentioned, bad runs. We all have bad runs. Do you see those as kind of a learning experience? Do you find some value in those bad runs?
Yeah, I think there's something to learn from every experience, whether good or bad. And I've had plenty of bad workouts and bad races. And while it's less fun to have the bad races, there's always something you can learn from it. Whether that be maybe your fueling was off, or maybe your body just didn't have it that day, or maybe you went out too fast and that's why you kind of crashed and burned when you hit a wall. And so there's always something to learn. What I like to take from like the bad experiences though is I like to think it through, process it, but then forget it and just move on. Because I think the more we dwell on that, like the more we're going to get in our own heads and just always expect then the next run that something's going to go wrong. So just being able, I think there's power in being able to move past something and leave it in the past, like learn from it. Okay, I'm going to apply this to my future training races, but I'm not going to let it define me moving forward.
And what would you say about, what, besides the obvious fitness benefits, what has running brought to your life? I mean, obviously it's been a big part of your life for a long time.
It's brought a lot of things. I'd say for one, it's brought community. I've never met a community like the running community before, where there's so many people from so many different backgrounds across the world, or even within your own neighborhood, that you may not have met these people before just because your paths may not have crossed otherwise. And so being able to be a part of something bigger than yourself has been something that I've really taken away from running. It's also taught me just good skills in terms of like time management and being patient. Because a lot of times we have big goals and we want to reach those goals quickly, but just learning how to break it down and set like tangible, like meaningful goals to get to that bigger goal. And I've been able to apply that in other areas of my life besides running to whether that be at work or at home. But then the goal setting piece has been huge too, just learning how to set good goals and like the SMART goals that a lot of people have heard of. So how do you set those and how do you approach that has been important. But it's also given me a sense of purpose, especially during this pandemic when everything was kind of just up in the air of what's going on with work and what's going on, like what can we do? My training has been there throughout the whole thing. And so it's given me a reason to get up in the morning and get moving and feel like I have a goal, even in the midst of everything kind of feeling like it's on pause. There's still a lot of work that can be done in training. And so it's given me that sense of purpose in my life in this last year, especially.
Well, I want to thank you for spending some time with me and talking about your approach to running. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. I'm really happy that we got the chance to talk and for me to be able to share my story. So thank you.